It really hurt her. It hurt their relationship. And that's what we see happening with Harry and Meghan. And that's why I always say, they're trying to stay above the water. They're trying to not drown in it all, like putting out pieces in People magazine, going to Australia. They're trying to remain relevant.
William and Catherine are saying Harry and Meghan don't matter anymore. And in some ways, that's the most damning indictment you can give a couple so desperate for relevance.
And for William, I think William is just at a point in his life where he's finding his, place in the roles that he is going to be serving. He's finding a great balance between his leadership.
Actually, secretly hates Harry and Meghan now.
Yeah, but I think there would still be some caution because we have to remember Netflix still wants to have somewhat of a good relationship.
Well, they've got the first look deal too, don't they? So it would make it hard.
So
picture this. You pour years of your life into attacking your own family. You write a memoir, you go on Oprah, you do a Netflix documentary, you give speeches, you give interviews, and you keep going and going. And then one day, the people you were expecting to react, to beg, to negotiate, they stop reacting altogether. Not anger, not sadness, just silence. That is exactly where William and Catherine are right now, and the message they just sent to Harry and Meghan is the most devastating thing they could have possibly communicated. Not a single press conference, no dramatic statement, just 5 words buried inside a Daily Mail anniversary piece that hit harder than anything said publicly in years. To focus on the things that matter. Harry is not one of those things. And today we are going to break down exactly why that phrase is the most calculated, most deliberate, most final signal that Kensington Palace has ever sent, and what it means for Harry and Meghan going forward. Stay with me because this one is genuinely extraordinary. Before we get into the detail, I want to make sure we understand what we are actually looking at here, because a lot of people read the Rebecca English piece in the Daily Mail, published to mark William and Catherine's 15th wedding anniversary, and they thought it was a celebrity profile, a nice piece about a couple who seem happy, sweet photos, lovely quotes, feel-good content. That is not what it is. Rebecca English is the Daily Mail's head royal correspondent. She is, without question, the most access-dependent royal journalist working in Britain today. She does not get those sources, the senior ones, the palace-adjacent ones, the former private secretaries, unless those sources trust her and unless they want a specific message delivered through a specific channel to a specific audience. This piece is a managed communication. Every single line in it was either approved or placed deliberately. The sources she draws on are operating within or very close to Kensington Palace. When you understand that, you read every sentence completely differently. So let's go through it properly. The piece describes William and Catherine's marriage as a genuine partnership between equals. That framing is not accidental. Jamie Lowther-Pinkerton, who served as principal private secretary to both William and Harry during some of their most formative years, speaks in specific terms about the relationship. He says Catherine's happy family background has been reflected in how the couple are raising their own children, and that her protective instinct towards William is just as strong as his towards her. Now, Lowther-Pinkerton has worked with Harry, too. He knows both brothers intimately. He was discreetly silent for years, which in royal circles is the appropriate and professional thing to be. The fact that he is now choosing to speak positively, specifically about William and Catherine, and not about Harry, that silence around Harry is itself a statement. The contrast is not made explicit. It does not need to be. Anyone reading carefully can see it. The piece also reveals that many within the royal household have started calling Catherine the Steel Marshmallow Mark II. That is a direct echo of the Queen Mother's nickname. The Queen Mother combined extraordinary public warmth with a core that simply did not bend. She got through decades of difficulty, circumstances that were genuinely hard, without letting the cracks show publicly. The people around Catherine are saying she has that same quality. And when you think about what Catherine has been through in the last 2 years, the cancer diagnosis in early 2024, the surgery, the chemotherapy, the recovery conducted almost entirely in private, while speculation about her health ran completely out of control, when you think about all of that, the Steel Marshmallow description is not PR. It is an accurate characterization of a woman who went through something genuinely serious and came out the other side visibly, demonstrably intact. She was not performing strength during that period. She was exercising it. Now we get to the line that matters, the line that, frankly, I have not been able to stop thinking about since I read this piece. There is almost nothing about Harry in the entire article. That absence alone is telling, but the one reference that does exist is this. I am told there is sadness, naturally, at how things have turned out. But William has very much placed the issue of his estranged brother to one side to focus on the things that matter. Let's sit with that for a moment. The word estranged is significant on its own. Kensington Palace has been careful for years about how it characterizes William's relationship with Harry. The word estranged is loaded. It means something specific. It is not complicated. It is not difficult. It is estranged. And the palace chose, through this carefully managed communication, to say so formally and publicly for the first time. But that is not even the most important part of the sentence. To focus on the things that matter. Read it again. The implication is not accidental and it is not subtle. Harry has been placed to one side, not reconciled with, not negotiated with, not mourned publicly, placed to one side, like something you clear off your desk when it is no longer relevant to what you are working on. The palace did not say they hope for reconciliation. They did not say the door is open. They did not say we remain in communication. They said William has moved his attention toward the things that matter, implying with no ambiguity whatsoever that Harry is not among them. For a man who has spent the better part of 4 years trying to remain part of the conversation, the Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, the memoir, the constant briefings from his team that he does not need the institution, this is about as devastating a message as you can receive. Not hostility, not anger, just irrelevance. You know what is harder to recover from than someone being angry at you? Someone simply not thinking about you anymore. And that is where William appears to be. He is not spending emotional energy on Harry. He is planning his eventual monarchy, raising 3 children, supporting a wife who has been through serious illness, and managing the institutional weight of being the heir to the throne. Harry is a distraction from those things, and William has apparently decided, quietly and firmly, that he is done being distracted. The Duke of Windsor comparison that multiple royal commentators have made is worth bringing in here, because William himself has reportedly invoked it. The Duke of Windsor, Edward VIII, who abdicated in 1936, spent his post-abdication decades in a slow, grinding decline of institutional relevance. The further he got from the institution, the less he mattered. The less he mattered, the more the distance became self-reinforcing. There was no dramatic rupture at any specific moment. There was just a steady drift toward irrelevance that was impossible to reverse once it had gained momentum. That is the precedent William is apparently applying to Harry, and the Rebecca English piece is the formal communication that the precedent is now in effect. One of the other lines in the English piece that deserves serious attention is the observation about Catherine and her relationship with public relations. A source close to the couple describes Catherine as allergic to being given advice about how things will come across through a PR lens. She finds it apparently genuinely repellent when people try to manage her presentation. She does what she believes, and the public response she generates comes from that authenticity rather than from any calculated strategy. Now hold that thought and look at the Sussex operation. Meghan herself has described in various interviews and contexts the deliberate nature of how the couple managed their public image. Multiple observers of the Sussex communication strategy, and there have been many detailed accounts of it, describe a process in which every action is assessed for its PR implications. Every engagement is structured to produce specific media outcomes, and every piece of content is worked towards specific brand objectives. The contrast between these two approaches is not primarily a moral question, it is a practical and commercial one. Catherine's approach, which actively rejects the PR mindset, generates YouGov approval ratings around 75%. Meghan's approach, which is almost entirely built around the PR mindset, generates somewhere around 20%. The market has made its assessment. And here is what makes this so striking as a contrast. Catherine's viral moments, the natural interactions with children, the spontaneous conversations with members of the public, the unguarded expressions that no communications team could have staged, exist precisely because Catherine is not thinking about the camera when they happen. She is thinking about the person in front of her. The camera catches something real because nothing is being performed for it. The Sussex content machine does the opposite, and sophisticated audiences, which is what royal watchers on the whole are, can feel the management even when they cannot see it. They cannot always articulate what feels off, but they notice it. And that feeling of artificiality, once it sets in, is almost impossible to dislodge. The specific detail in the English piece about William and Catherine watching Traitors together 3 nights a week might seem too mundane to include in a serious assessment of royal dynamics, but I think it is one of the most telling details in the entire article. A future king and queen sitting on the sofa watching a reality television program, not posting about it, not turning it into content, not staging a candid moment for a camera crew, just doing what millions of couples do on a weeknight. That is the domestic reality that generates authentic public warmth. You cannot manufacture it. The rejection happening in media briefings out of Kensington Palace is not happening in isolation. There's a pattern forming around Harry and Meghan that extends well beyond the palace walls. And the clearest example of it played out in Australia earlier this year. Harry and Meghan were in Australia. They reportedly wanted to meet with the Irwin family, Robert Irwin, Bindi, the whole conservationist dynasty that Steve Irwin built into a global brand. According to insiders quoted by New Idea magazine, the Irwins said no. It is worth noting that Robert also had Dancing with the Stars commitments overlapping with the Sussex visit, so the full picture may be more complicated than a clean loyalty snub. But what insiders told multiple outlets is telling regardless. Now, Robert Irwin is not the kind of person who says no to a high-profile meeting because he cannot be bothered. He's professionally connected to Prince William through the Earthshot Prize. He understands exactly what meeting Harry and Meghan would signal, who it would align him with, what it would imply about where his loyalties sit, and how it would land with William's circle. He made a calculation. The downside of meeting Harry and Meghan was larger than any upside. Full stop. And that calculation is being made by more and more people. New Zealand and Australian public opinion toward Harry and Meghan has shifted substantially. People who follow both families closely describe a sense of genuine disgust in those communities at how the Sussexes have treated the broader royal family. These are cultures that take family loyalty seriously. The sustained, years-long public campaign against the institution, the interviews, the book, the documentary, has not played well. The Robert Irwin comparison to Harry that people keep making is worth engaging with seriously because it is not just a social media observation. Both men experienced devastating public family loss at a young age. Both grew up under intense media scrutiny. Both had a natural pathway into charitable and humanitarian work. What they chose to do with those starting points is where everything diverges. Robert Irwin built his own identity. He carried his father's conservation mission forward in a way that feels genuinely personal rather than inherited. When critics come for him, he shrugs it off. No dramatic responses, no press statements, no lengthy interviews about how difficult it has been. He just keeps working. Harry's public identity, by contrast, has become increasingly centered on his own suffering. His mental health advocacy, which started as something many people found genuinely moving, has increasingly become a vehicle for relitigating his grievances against his family, rather than a platform for broader change. When you deliver those messages at paid speaking events, reportedly for fees in the tens of thousands per appearance, the perception of what you are doing changes. It starts to feel less like service and more like product. The public has noticed, and figures like Robert Irwin, who understand what alignment with William's future monarchy means for their own long-term position, are making their choices accordingly. The English piece references something that has been widely reported for months. George, who turns 13 in July, is heading to boarding school. William and Catherine have not publicly announced which school, though multiple reports point strongly toward Eton, with the Mail on Sunday reporting that certain rooms there are already being upgraded with additional security in preparation for his arrival. That is a significant detail, not just because it is a milestone in the life of the future king. It is significant because of what it says about the philosophy William and Catherine are applying to their children's upbringing. Sending George to boarding school at 13 is a deliberate choice to integrate him into a shared experience with boys his own age, away from the protective bubble of the royal household in an environment where his title will matter considerably less than his character. He will form friendships based on who he is, not what he is. He will navigate an institution, a school, as an individual. He will build the networks and the formation that the institutional role he will one day inherit will eventually require. Archie and Lilibet in Montecito are growing up in a different kind of environment entirely. The security arrangements around them, the absence of documented normal social interaction with children outside the immediate family, all of it creates a situation where the Sussex children are essentially always within a Sussex-controlled context. Whether that is the right approach to raising children is a genuinely open question and a matter of personal philosophy, but the institutional trajectory of those two sets of children, George heading to boarding school in July, Archie growing up in California, will become visible over time, and the comparison will eventually be made. William reportedly described his feelings about George going to boarding school as being both thrilled and dreading it. That is the most human thing in the entire article. The future king, a man who has managed an extraordinary period of public pressure with composure, is nervous about his son going to school. That accessibility, that ordinary parental vulnerability, is exactly what makes the Wales family feel real to the public in a way that the Sussex family, for all its carefully managed content, increasingly does not. I want to spend a few minutes on Catherine's recovery because I think the way it was handled and the way the English piece characterizes it reveals something fundamental about the Wales marriage. Catherine was diagnosed with cancer in early 2024. The surgery and subsequent chemotherapy were conducted with a level of privacy that generated genuine criticism at the time. People who felt they were owed information about a senior royal's health found themselves without it. There was speculation, some of it ugly. There were conspiracy theories. The absence of public information created a vacuum, and the internet filled that vacuum in its own way. And then Catherine emerged, looking well, looking genuinely settled, looking in the anniversary photograph and in subsequent public appearances like someone who has been through something genuinely serious and has come out the other side with something intact, not just physically, but at a deeper level. The sources close to the couple describe William's role in that period as quietly essential. He rearranged his schedule. He was present in ways that were never publicized because they were not meant to be publicized. He and Catherine made the decisions about what to tell the children and when and how. Together. That final word matters. Together. The Oprah narrative, Meghan's account of feeling isolated within the institution, unsupported in moments of personal crisis, sits in the background of this reporting in a way that the source does not make explicit, but that every reader of this story understands. The contrast is available without being stated. One woman who describes being left alone in her darkest moments. One woman whose husband apparently rearranged his entire schedule and was present in ways that never made the papers. The people around William and Catherine have chosen this specific moment, the 15th anniversary, to make that contrast visible, not by attacking Meghan, by simply describing Catherine's experience. So where does this leave Harry and Meghan? Their operation is still briefing. Their spokesperson has said Harry did not watch the U.S. state visit. Their team continues to position them as independent, relevant, building something meaningful in California. The machinery keeps turning. But here's the thing. The machinery is producing less and less. Netflix, which paid the couple a reported $100 million for their content deal, has chosen for its next royal project a Crown prequel covering 1901 to 47. That is a period that ends precisely where the contemporary Sussex drama begins. The Harry and Meghan story that Netflix will not tell is notable by its absence. The reasons for that are not complicated. The first look deal creates commercial entanglements. The documentary produced limited creative value compared to the Crown's peak years, and telling the Sussex story accurately rather than sympathetically would create legal complications that Netflix has apparently decided are not worth navigating. The sympathetic version has already been told. There is no obvious market for a second one. Polling continues to tell the same story it has been telling for 2 years. William sits at strong approval numbers in YouGov data. Harry is far lower. That gap is not narrowing. It has stabilized at a level that reflects where public opinion has settled, not as a reaction to any specific event, but as a cumulative judgment formed over years of observation. And then there's this. The Spectator, a serious publication, not a gossip outlet, ran a piece titled "We Can Still Save Harry." Even that framing, well-intentioned as it might be, is telling. You only need saving if you are in trouble. The rescue narrative acknowledges the problem even as it offers the solution. But in the original Prodigal Son story, the template the Spectator piece appears to be working from, the welcome at the end comes after the son has already changed, already humbled himself, already made the journey back. The acceptance is the result of transformation, not the incentive for it. The version being offered to Harry in various corners of the British media seems to have that sequence reversed. The welcome is being extended before any of the preconditions have been met. And the palace, for its part, is not extending any welcome at all. William has placed the issue to one side. Catherine is the Steel Marshmallow, ready for whatever comes next. George is going to boarding school in July. The things that matter are moving forward. There is a line that has stayed with me through all of this. A source close to William and Catherine speaking to Rebecca English described the couple as having no need to show things for the cameras, no need to perform their closeness, no need to prove that everything is going well. The observation was made gently, without naming anyone else. But every single person who follows this story knew exactly what the comparison was. One couple does not need to prove anything. The other couple has built an entire operation around proving things. And the market, the public, the polling data, it has made its judgment on which approach works. William has placed Harry to one side to focus on the things that matter. After 4 years of attacks, a memoir, a documentary, 2 Oprah interviews, and more briefings than anyone can count, that quiet dismissal might be the most powerful thing William has ever said about his brother. He said it without saying a word. Tell me in the comments, do you think there is any path back for Harry at this point? Or is this truly as final as it looks? And if you are watching this and you have not yet subscribed to Amelia Palace Reports, now is a good time. We are here every week breaking down what is actually happening inside the royal family. Not the headlines, but the story behind them. I will see you in the next one.